was one of the most influential figures in the history of the American space program. He was a founding member of NASA's Jet Propulsion Lab. He was born into a wealthy family, but also troubled family in LA. In October of 1914, Jack was a high school misfit who found comfort in an oddball mixture of science fiction and mythology readings, occult studies, and also dabbling in amateur rocketry. This was the starting point, and as the old saying goes, the sky was the limit. By age 12, the future father of modern rocketry was conducting backyard experiments with his classmate Edward Foreman. The two boys designed gunpowder-based rockets with aluminum foil, cherry bomb fireworks, and glue. Around the same time, Chuck was performing bedtime incantations, another practice that he had learned from reading amazing comics in an effort to straighten out her son. Her wayward son was so distracted that he started flunking out of grade school. Jack's mother sent him to the Brown Military Academy, which was also known as the West Point of the West. It did not work. Jack was expelled for blowing up toilets. Jack moved back home and resumed his rocket engineering experiments at home. He was forced to take up working weekends, holidays, and eventually full-time employment at the Hercules Powder Company after his family experienced financial losses during the Great Depression. Directly dealing with chemicals and munitions, Jack not only learned more about the properties of gunpowder and its potential as a rocket propellant, but he also occasionally stole materials from work for his and Edward's experiments. Jack and Edward continued these experiments well into their mid to late 20s. When Jack was 23 years old, he made a name for himself in the newspapers. In 1938, a Los Angeles police captain was arrested for trying to take out a private detective. The detective had dug up some dirt on police corruption, so the captain planted a pipe bomb in his car. It exploded, but it did not unalive the detective. The captain was put on trial for attempted, taken out. This person, I can't say the word. As a local explosives expert, Jack became the trial's star witness. He even built a replica pipe bomb and blew up a Chrysler. The press gobbled it up. It also did not hurt that Jack was a 6'2" handsome man with sweeping jet black hair. His damning testimony sent the crooked police captain to prison resources and equipment, the trio formed the Galcid Rocket Research Group. Thus, the blueprint for NASA's Jet Propulsion Lab was born. Jack always had a literary side. He read poetry and Greek mythology. Jack read about the occult. He was especially enamored with the British occultist Aleister Crowley, who founded the religion Thelema. This was a man who once declared himself to be the so-called Great Beast 666. Jack saw rocketry and the occult as two sides of the same coin. Both offered a chance to slip off the bonds of Earth and roam free. Rocketry freed your body to roam, while the occult freed your mind and soul. Thelema was by this time a sprawling, esoteric movement, incorporating ancient Egyptian deities, rituals, and a range of Eastern and Western mysticism. Eventually, Jack was forced to choose between his new religious craze or pursuing his degree at USC. Ultimately, Jack dropped out of school and chose to dedicate himself to Thelema. In Thelema, magic does not mean stage illusions. Instead, it's more like paranormal experiences. Jack and his wife Helen eventually moved into a mansion with several other Thelemic worshippers. The house that he lived in sat on Millionaire's Row, the same street he grew up on. In August of 1945, a fresh face showed up there. None other than a former Navy lieutenant named L. Ron Hubbard, a discharged naval officer, science fiction writer, and the future founder of Scientology. Jack was immediately smitten by L. Ron Hubbard and was happy to invite him into his magic-based religion, where it involved communing with the gods and a very dark side. L. Ron Hubbard was the most gifted, most natural magician Jack had ever met. but spooky things happened in response. A lamp fell, the electricity went out, and a windstorm began. Completely unexplainable things. Then they waited, and soon a scarlet woman did walk into Jack's life, a former Navy PR officer, curious about the religious worship and magic she'd heard about from her friends. Her name was Marjorie Cameron, a woman with stark red hair. Now, L. Ron Hubbard's appearance at this occult house was allegedly a part of a greater ploy that Jack did not see coming, because L. Ron Hubbard was well known as a writer and a philosopher, and had friends amongst the physicists. He was sent in to handle the situation of black magic being practiced in a house in Pasadena, occupied by nuclear physicists. He went to live at this house and investigated the black magic rites and the general situation, and found them very bad. L. Ron Hubbard's mission was successful, far beyond anyone's expectations. The house was eventually torn down, and L. Ron Hubbard, quote-unquote, rescued a girl that they were using. Now, this girl was actually Jack's first wife's younger sister. Now, this is a bit crazy. So, earlier on, I mentioned that he moved into the house with a woman named Ellen. So he was married to her. However, he left his wife for the wife's younger sister, who was then about around 17, 18 years old. And I believe at the time L. Ron Hubbard met her, she was a bit older, but still a lot younger than L. Ron Hubbard. And actually, L. Ron Hubbard, when he moved into the house, began a relationship with her. Her name is Betty. So, yeah, L. Ron Hubbard, basically, this was the girl that he, took from Jack Parsons, effectively, right? Before Jack met the Scarlet Woman. Now, L. Ron Hubbard left with Betty, and he got out by convincing Jack to give over his life savings for a false yacht business plan. Now, Jack was too distracted with this Scarlet Woman to realize that he had been scammed. Now, when he realized it, Jack locked himself into his hotel room and got out his book of of his face too. He died with